We're actually doing it now. Fuck yeah. Hey, my name's Zoe Stirling, otherwise known as Cole. I'm an electro-pop artist who also writes singer-songwriter tracks. Welcome to my first ever video. In this one, I'm just going to be kind of introducing myself, answering questions about, my life and my music. So let's get started. I've always been involved in music my entire life, ever since I can remember. It was almost like a second language to me. It's always involved with, the school projects, the choirs, bands, everything. I feel I'm not alone when I say that music's always been a great source of comfort and almost like a therapy, writing, listening, recording. I'm hoping that, my music might bring a little bit of therapy to other people. Yes, as I mentioned, I've been involved in every single lame, school band, choir, concert you can imagine. I'm actually a grade 8 recorder, so it made me basically the most popular girl in school, which did help, can't complain. And I was also part of the Royal College of Music junior department for 2 years, where I studied recorder flute and classical singing, which was absolutely amazing. I love all kinds of music, and I think learning about things like classical and baroque and romantic music is it's good to see where it all kind of came from, really. And there's some great concerts down there. It's mental. After a year, I actually went to drama school for a year. I went to GSA and studied musical theatre. But after that year, I decided that it really was not for me. So I applied to the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester to study popular music, and I was fortunate enough to get a place. I actually just finished my 4 years there. It was a wild ride. Yeah, I ended up going to Manchester because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, because I always thought I wanted to do musical theatre. So it was a massive whim. I knew that all I knew was that I loved music and I loved performing it. So it was definitely, I went on a complete whim up to Manchester. But I'm glad I did, because if I didn't, I wouldn't have got so involved in the original music scene. Royal Northern, it was mainly just lectures, performance opportunities. It changed. It was very varied. We got vocal training, like depending on what your instrument was, you could get one-on-one tuition. We also did a lot of live showcases where we did, covers, like a function band, which it was really fun. But I never, there was always kind of something missing. So it was when I went up to Manchester that I first started writing guitar and piano songs. I did have quite a lack of confidence in my first couple of years, so I found that writing and performing my own stuff, getting my own gigs, really, really helped me with that. My first EP, the Kinross Sessions, was written during my second year of university. It's called the Kinross Sessions because we recorded it in one of my housemates' bedrooms, and I lived on Kinross Road, so that's where that came from. Around that time I was listening to a lot of Bob Dylan, like Simon Garfunkel, Joni Mitchell, kind of traditional folk artists. At the time I was still very much a novice at writing music, and the band didn't actually end up staying together that I formed. We all had our own separate projects and interests, and I was never very good at being a forceful band leader, so it kind of fell apart. But I really wanted to try doing solo music as well, so that's what I eventually ended up doing with the second one. Short Stories was more of a personal project because it was obviously very much a solo project as well. I wrote it in the year after Kinross Sessions. I think they differ because Kinross Sessions was more about my observations on life and other people's lives and their relationships with me, and Short Stories was more of a kind of inward look and an evaluation of the self. At that time I really wasn't in a good place mentally and emotionally, and I think it does come across in my writing at the time. But working on this project did really help me deal with it in a way. I'd say the inspirations for it, I was listening to a lot of Fleetwood Mac, Kate Bush and a lot of Bon Iver, and I think you can definitely hear those influences. Honestly, I just kind of felt like a challenge, to be honest. I always enjoyed creating, writing, performing acoustic songs, but I always felt there was definitely a lack. There was a kind of restriction with what you could do in terms of the musicality and the melody and the way that married with the music. And so obviously with electronic music there's, you know, infinite scope for being creative. But yeah, that's why I got into electronic sound. I just kind of plugged my keyboard into Logic one day and just kind of went from there, really. I really wanted KOHL and Eclipse to be a much more kind of experimental EP which focuses on like soundscapes and creating a feeling by marrying both lyrics and musicality rather than just telling a story. The EP itself is about breaking and finding resolve in that, not necessarily getting better, but if you listen to it as a whole I think you can hear the journey of the narratives flow quite well. But yeah, I never really sat down when I started writing it and thought, I want to be like this artist, I want to be like this artist. It was very experimental. I just kind of went with whatever I thought sounded good. You can hear influences from artists such as like the XX and Portishead, Imogen Heap, like James Blake. Even I was listening to a lot of Subtracts at the time. I know it's a lot different from everything else I've written, but eventually I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it'll be a good basis for my next project, I think. I'm not really sure what's next for me. As I mentioned, I just finished my 4 years at Royal Northern where I got a 2-1, which I'm absolutely over the moon. I almost swore over the moon with. Musically, I've been, you know, just having fun with experimenting again. Now there's no pressure on me to produce like an EP and etc. So I'm just experimenting again. I'm writing a lot on Logic still. I've started writing on guitar again, which I haven't done for, you know, since the beginning of the making of Eclipse. Yeah, I'm just kind of getting back to having fun with it, you know, exploring it, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I'm also doing this YouTube as well, where I'll be hopefully making a lot more videos from like covers to originals to talking things like this. As well as that, I'll be putting links and tracks up on my SoundCloud. I'm on all social medias, which will be in the description below. So thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a bit of a rambly video, but yeah, hopefully you liked it, and I'll see you next time.